We've had a period of nice weather, which has been really welcome. Fieldwork's really been quite good throughout February, the early part of March, and spring barley crops are starting to go in, which is in good time. That does come with a slight risk that, we're back into colder weather now. Soils are still cold, so don't push it too far. But obviously the experience of last year, where we got a few early crops in and then a month of very wet weather, is fresh in people's minds. So for spring barleys, make sure you've seed tested. Be aware that they'll come through more slowly in slow soils, and you may have a greater need for seed treatments. And the other thing to flag is just that slight ergot worry, which came through at the end of last season. So again, don't sow crops that you know to have been infected with ergot. The winter crops, the winter cereals, have come through the winter really well and are in the main looking great. A few are beginning to go a bit yellow, but again, because fieldwork has been good, we've got fertiliser on and they're beginning to green up again, which is great. Disease levels generally quite low, which again is encouraging. But for winter wheat, we've had a few reports of yellow rust coming through, and some on varieties that should carry seedling and adult resistance. So that's a little bit worrying. So just walk those crops. And yellow rust is a key driver of your T0s. And these sprays shouldn't be ubiquitous across all crops, but if you do have yellow rust, then there could be a need for a T0. And again, at this time of year for your wheats, planning out your programme, your fungicide programmes and your inputs is quite helpful, because it lets you mix and diversify chemistry as you go through the season. And of course, you then adjust it in terms of rate as you react to what you see during the season. Winter barleys, like the winter wheats, again, they're looking quite good. Disease levels low. We have a little bit of net blotch and rhynchosporium. Net blotch is a little bit harder to control now because we've got resistant strains there. So again, just try and mix and diversify your chemistry in the winter barleys. And maybe a final thought. There's been quite a bit in the press about new races of brown rust in wheat, which carry resistance to the SDHI group of fungicides, and that's quite unusual for a rust to develop resistance. We obviously have much less concern about brown rust in wheat in Scotland, so it shouldn't be a worry for us. And it's worth noting that brown rust is really specific, so the brown rust that we see in, say, rye or barley is not the same species. So again, we should be okay with SDHI chemistry in those crops.